Hi, I'm Neil Kelleher. In this video I wanted to go over a few simple exercises for working on ribcage mobility and control. And ribcage mobility and control can be important whether, in particular if you want to work on your neck, since the ribcage serves as a base for the neck. There are muscles that attach from the ribcage to the neck and skull. It can also be very important for working on your shoulders. So if your ribcage is stable and you can stabilize it in a variety of positions, then you can give the muscles that work on your shoulder blades and collarbones a stable endpoint from which to work on those bones, and then in turn your shoulder muscles can have a stable foundation from which to work. Do note that ribcage mobility and stability isn't the only important factor in particular when dealing with shoulder problems. It can also help to work on arm rotation control. But for this video, I'll focus on a few simple exercises for working on ribcage. To develop ribcage mobility and stability, the focus can be on learning to feel muscles that work on your ribcage. If you can feel the muscles that work on your ribs and also your thoracic spine, it's easier then to position your ribcage in any position that you like and also to stabilize it in that position. So one of the more common starting points for doing ribcage and spinal awareness is to go on all fours and do cat-cow. And to my mind, that's a little bit not the best, because a lot of the time that you want to develop ribcage mobility is while standing. And so my general starting point for learning most muscle control exercises is to do it while standing, or at least while upright, so you could be sitting in a chair. But doing with the same idea of cat-cow, the idea of this exercise is to stand with your knees slightly bent and bend your ribcage and thoracic spine backwards. So as you do that, your chest will lift. You could actually focus on lifting your chest. So notice the bend in my lumbar spine and thoracic spine, and then relax. And we'll work on bending forward as well, but for now focus on the back bend. Lift your chest, relax, lift your chest, relax. And something that you can notice while lifting your chest, first of all, notice your ribs lifting. Also notice any sensation of space between the ribs, as a feeling that you might describe as opening the front of the rib cage. So that's something that you could focus on while doing this exercise. Lift the ribs, feel the spaces, feel the rib cage expanding, and then when you allow your rib cage to drop, notice that sensation disappearing. So practice that a few times. Stop the video if you need to. Practice that a few times. And then the next point to focus on is actually on the back of the rib cage. When you lift your chest, notice any sensation at the back. So it can be along either side of the spine. So as you lift your rib cage, notice any sensation along either side of the spine, a tightening or a feeling of muscles activating. Another important sensation is a feeling of the ribs being pulled down. And in either case, you'll be working on the spinal erectors. There are three groups of spinal erectors. So you can focus on feeling the spine, try to feel your vertebrae bending backwards. And if you can't feel them, or if there are dead spots, you can try adjusting, maybe moving your ribcage left or right, slightly turning left or right. But also, as I mentioned, so focus on feeling your spine. Also focus on feeling the backs of the ribs. So when you lift your chest, there are spinal erectors that attach from the hip bones and the sacrum to the back of the ribs. There are spinal erectors that attach from the backs of the lower ribs to the upper ribs. So when you bend your spine backwards, you can actually do it in such a way that you can get those muscles to activate and thus generate sensation. And perhaps one of the most important points here is, once you get a feel for those muscles activating, see if you can get See if you can make the sensation even on both sides. So how do you make the sensation even on both sides? How do you get even muscle activation on both sides? Try adjusting, making slight adjustments, basically like tuning a radio. You move left or right. You can turn your spine left or right slightly. You can slide your rib cage slightly left or right at varying levels of the spine. So what I'd suggest, lift your chest. Once you can feel your back ribs pulling down, try adjusting slightly, slowly and smoothly. Focus on feeling your back ribs. Try to get even sensation on both sides and then relax. Lift your chest, feel your back ribs pulling down, adjust, and then relax. So repeat that. That can be the exercise. Also note for muscles to activate, they need an opposing force. What you may find, in order to get a sensation of your back ribs pulling down, you may need to activate your abs. You may find that your abs activate automatically. That is fine. That is fine. Now, once you have the hang of that, what you can then also focus, what you can then practice, drop your ribs. And it's very easy to drop the ribs, let gravity pull your ribs down. Instead, what I'd suggest, actively pull your ribs down so you're bending your spine forwards. And then relax. If this causes lower back pain, you might need to pull your abdominal wall in and then pull your ribs down. If it still causes lower back pain, then leave this exercise out. Then it's probably not appropriate for you. Then it's not appropriate for you, unless you can adjust in such a way that you can do it without pain. But assuming that you haven't got any lower back pain or mid, so where the thoracic spine joins the lumbar spine, if there's no sharp pain there, if there's no sharp pain anywhere, then continue. Pull the ribs down. So in this case, working on the front of the body, the abs will activate. You may get some tightness in the chest as well, like you're contracting the rib cage, and then relax. Pull the front ribs down. Relax. And something else that you can focus on while doing this, as you pull the front ribs down, you may get some sensation that the back ribs are lifting. So as you pull your front ribs down, first focus on feeling your front ribs. See if you can feel the back ribs lifting. Also feel your spine bending forward. So that's two basic exercises you can practice: lifting the rib cage, lifting the chest, dropping the chest. You can also combine the two, so full lift, feel the back ribs pulling down, and then drop and pull your front ribs down. Now notice I didn't talk about breathing or worrying about your breath. The inhales and the exhales will happen automatically. One reason for not talking about inhale, lift your chest, exhale, drop your chest down, is then the focus is on breathing, which isn't a bad thing, but in this case, in order to develop rib cage mobility, you may find it easier if you don't worry about the breath and instead focus on feeling the muscles that control your rib cage, if you focus on feeling those activating. So again, lifting your chest, focus on feeling the back ribs being pulled down by the spinal erectors, pulling your chest, pulling your front ribs down, focusing on feeling your abs, also the intercostals activating. So in either case, you're focusing on the muscle activation. You should find that the inhales and exhales happen automatically. But what I'd suggest, don't worry about it. Instead, focus on feeling and controlling your muscles, feeling and controlling your ribs and thoracic spine and other parts of the spine as well. Now, another very basic exercise that I like to do for rib cage awareness is to twist the rib cage. And for the previous exercise, but also for this one, bearing in mind that the spinal erectors in particular, well, both the spinal erectors and the abs are attached have fibers that attach to the hip bone. So when working on this, as you get more comfortable with it, you may find it helpful to work at stabilizing the hips. So very simple, if you've watched previous videos, one way to stabilize the hips is to either spread the sitting bones so that your sitting bones lift slightly, or retract the sitting bones. So you can use either of those actions to help stabilize the hip bones. So if lifting the chest, you might find it helpful to spread the sitting bones, so that will cause your lumbar spine to arch, and then from there you can try lifting your chest. Doing the opposite action, dropping the chest, you can try retracting your sitting bones, pulling them inwards. That will tend to cause your sacrum to drop, and then from there you can pull the ribs down. Be cautious on that last one. If you find you get any lumbar twinging, maybe pull your abs in prior to pulling your chest down, or as you pull your chest down, or try spreading the sitting bones as you pull your chest down. See if that makes a difference. So the idea with these muscle control exercises is not to do it by rote, to focus on feeling your body. If you get any problems, then you make changes to the way that you're doing it, and in general one of the simplest things that you can change is how you where you create stability. Another idea is giving your muscles length. So one reason for pulling in the transverse, for pulling in the abs, is to actually lengthen the other abdominal muscles, so that it's easier for them to pull the rib cage down, as a for instance. But another way that you can stabilize the hip bones is simply to press your feet out. You may find your outer thighs activate, or pull your feet in. So turning your hips, say, to the left, and your rib cage to the left, you could push your feet out so your hip bones are braced. Then from there you can lengthen your spine, and ideally, because you learn to feel your spinal erectors, it's a little bit easier then to make your spine feel long. And then what you can do, push your feet out, so make your legs active, make your spine long, and then from there, continuing feeling your spine, making it feel long, feeling your ribs, try to turn your rib cage to the side. Then relax if you like, push your feet out again, lengthen your spine, and then try to twist a bit deeper. And what I'd suggest for this is, when twisting the spine, you can bend the rib cage backwards slightly, or bend the rib cage forward. Those are the adjustments that you can, so those are a couple of simple adjustments you can do. So in this instance, keep the legs pulled out, pushing out, lengthen the spine, twist, adjust, bend slightly backwards or forwards so that you have sensation both front and back of the ribs, and also of your spine. Twist a little bit deeper, then adjust again, bend forward slightly or back slightly so that you have sensation, then twist a bit deeper. Here again, adjust if you need to so that you continue to have sensation, then twist deeper. Then you can repeat that with pulling the legs in if you so choose, and then do the other side. But notice the key point, as you go deeper, each time you go a little bit deeper, the key point is to make slight adjustments so that you can continue to feel your rib cage, so that you can feel your rib cage. So in this case, the basic actions were either bending backwards or forwards. You could also bend slightly right or left. You could even try sliding your rib cage relative to your pelvis. You could slide it right or left, even front or back, slight amount. But the basic idea is to make adjustments so that you can continue to feel your rib cage. And obviously, after having twisted to the left, do the same thing, twist to the opposite. So after having twisted to the left, do the same thing to the right. Push your feet out, lengthen your spine, twist, adjust, twist, adjust for sensation, deepen the twist, adjust for sensation. So feel your spine, feel your ribs, deepen the twist, adjust for sensation, deepen the twist, and so on. And you may find that you can actually go quite deep. And the nice thing about twisting, if you continue to feel the entire length of your spine, if you feel all of your ribs, then you're working on a good portion of the muscles that work on your spine and your rib cage. And one way that you can tell that is you can actually feel them activating. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. Namaste.